Hi, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is Taxes FAQ. I'm Kyle Dugan, and I work with Jupiter Tax LLC in Jupiter, Florida. And this was a recent question that I had from a client where we went over a couple scenarios. She called and asked me about whether or not she should refinance and how it would affect her taxes. Interest rates are historically low. So anybody with a mortgage, it's a good idea to look at what their current interest rate is and how low they could get it and whether or not it'd be worth it. Generally speaking, if you can lower your interest rate by about 0.25%, then you're going to save some money. The fees, that's probably the first thing to check for. The fees can vary greatly depending on who's processing your mortgage. Eventually, in the process, you will get a sheet that'll give you all the specifics of the fees involved. And another problem that I remember I ran into is they assume, your mortgage broker who is ever processing your mortgage refinance, they assume you kind of have the average amount of debt that most Americans carry. So they'll want to include credit card debt specifically. So keep that in mind, that when they're talking to you and selling you on a mortgage refinance, they're including maybe $20,000 to $30,000 extra in their mind that they would be refinancing. So just keep in mind that whether or not you really want to do that, you're taking unsecured debt and moving it to secured debt. You're taking equity from your house to basically pay off your credit cards. So if you're just going to rack up your credit cards again to $20,000, $30,000, then it's not a good move. If you need to have your credit cards maxed in order to not keep overspending, then just leave them maxed. But that's just a side note to keep in mind. And I also want to say that there are various calculators online, so I don't need to reinvent the wheel. So find a mortgage refinance calculator, put in your information about your loan now and what it would be if you change the interest rate, change the years, fiddle with it and see if it would be good for your situation. And let's see. And here's another problem that I know my husband and I had is the amount that we owe isn't that high anymore. So whether we have 4%, 3%, 2%, we're not paying that much on interest now. You pay, they're front loaded in a way, so you pay a lot more interest at the beginning of the life of the loan. And if you're at the end of the life of the loan, you're not really paying that much interest anymore. So if you're close to the end of your loan, it's typically not a great idea to go ahead and refinance unless it's part of your overall financial plan to do something else with the debt or the money and whatnot. And then as far as the taxes go, whether or not it would affect your taxes, you're going to want to look at your most recent tax year. You're going to want to go to your Schedule A. Kind of about midway through, it'll show interest paid. This is part of your itemized deductions. Whatever you put in there for last year's filings, just go ahead and remove that from your tax return. This carries through to the first page. I think it's line 9 or so, where it says standard deduction or itemized deductions from Schedule A. Your standard deduction for a married filing joint, 2019, it was $24,400. That's the standard deduction, meaning you get it whether you have a mortgage or not. So if you're already using the standard deduction, whether or not you refinance isn't going to affect your taxes. And then also keep in mind that you're paying interest to a bank, and then you're getting not credit for it, but you're getting to itemize it on your taxes. So people talk about there's a good reason to have a mortgage, but if you can pay your house off or own a house outright, go ahead and do that. It's not really worth it to pay, say, 10 grand to the bank to get $2,000 credit on your taxes. So, and the final point is when you're looking at whether or not you should refinance, you should look at it from the vantage point of your overall financial plan. With one of my clients, we talked about them wanting to pay off their house faster, and them refinancing was going to be able to do that. Because I think they were going from maybe they were at 20 years, and they were going down to 10, and it set it up on a monthly payment plan that they knew they could afford, so they'd be paying off the house that much faster. When it came down to it, it doesn't really change their taxes, how much they itemize and not itemize. But it does help them accomplish their goals, which your overall life goals, your overall financial goals, that should always be your primary focus when you're looking at this. Not necessarily does it save money. I mean, yeah, of course you want to save money, but you want to make sure that it fits overall in your tax plan and especially your financial plan. So I hope that helped everybody with some information and some things to think about as they were thinking about refinancing during this time of COVID and election year and everything else that's going on. So thanks, and everyone have a great night.